Gather round, Bad Witches. My name is Jade, and welcome to my Bad Witch Emporium. Today, I wanted to talk about a more vulnerable subject, and it's important to address this more within the spiritual community. And the reason why is by shedding light on this certain subject, it can bring opportunities for us to heal as a community and bring in more support to each other in general, right? So I wanted to make this video on Christmas because we're in the holidays. We're celebrating Yule, Yuletide, Christmas, winter solstice, all the holidays. And for many, it brings joy. It brings celebration, being with loved ones, right? And for some, it can be very painful time, especially if you have dealt with, certain experiences as a practitioner. And practitioners aren't the only people that go through this. Queer people that struggle with any, disabilities, mental illnesses, chronic illnesses, they also can struggle with these sort of backlashes too. And I think it's important to address because you are valid. I want you to know that you are valid. Your practice is valid. You as a person, you're valid. And I know not all the time we will hear this from people, and especially from the closest people around us. When we walk a certain spiritual path, or just any spiritual path, honestly, when we walk the spiritual path, come on, babe. I want to sleep. She get in her bed. When we walk a certain spiritual path, or any, naturally we are going against a certain expectation. This is very common for if you grew up in predominantly Christian communities or environments that were very religious. Even any Abrahamic religion can be like this. But this is most prevalent within these communities and growing up in these environments. By just saying we are practicing a spiritual path, we are already going against their expectation of us. People have expectations of us, whether we realize it or not. And it can be quite jarring when we find out that the expectation they had of us is completely different from what we have of ourselves. And as any human goes, right, we know our own selves the best. When we walk a path that is authentic, true to oneself, it goes against those norms, those expectations, that box people put us in. And because of this, it can ruffle a lot of feathers. So a lot of spiritual practitioners will see having fallouts with people in their inner circle, their family. A lot of people reveal themselves for having certain animosities towards us when we start to walk a more authentic path. And again, it can be quite jarring because you don't expect, especially the people that are closest to us, you would expect them to be the most supportive. But the reality is that's not always the case. And when we do go through these experiences, these fallouts, these heartbreaks, these changes, and even enforcing boundaries. This is a huge thing too. When we say, no, this is who I am. This is what I need in, my expectations for how I live my life. If it doesn't, if you don't agree with it, I'm sorry. When we do these things, it can be very painful, especially if you are grieving someone who is still very well alive. A lot of us go no contact with parents, with loved ones, with people who we cherished deeply and we still love. And again, this is not a very fun subject to talk about. A lot of people don't like talking about these things, but it happens, and it happens a lot. There are people that get kicked out because of their craft, or because they said they love a certain person, or they have a certain thing going on with them. People get a lot of backlash for just being themselves. And it's important to know that being yourself is the best thing you can do. Walking that authentic path is the best thing you can do. And you continue to do it. Continue to, and it will reward you. The universe will reward you for being true and authentic to yourself, for doing what you want to do, and exceeding the expectations you have for yourself and not from others. That is how the universe works, and I have proved it over and over again. 2024 was a 180 for me. It was my entire life turned upside down terribly. I had the closest people to me, and this is when I started to more openly express my views, my practices, and, my values, my political views. This is when things started to really hit the fan. I mean, the people that I lived with, that I was closest to, the people that raised me, right? Now we're turning against me. Now we're demonizing me. And there is more that happened, but for this specific subject, we're going to touch on, right, connections. That was very painful to go through. And my circumstances were very unfavorable. Absolutely unfavorable. I mean, I was stuck at a parent's house who demonized my craft and also my political views. And I had no money. It's not something I talk about now. Or when I was going through it, I didn't talk about it. But I was in a lot of debt. I was in a place where I didn't want to be. And shit just kept hitting the fan over and over and over again until I had nothing left but myself and my craft. I was very close to being homeless. Very, very close. I'm talking days within being homeless. And I figured it out, right? I used my resources. I used the support that I had. This is very important. The support that you have, even if it's not much, even if it's one person, someone online, right? This is where healing as a community comes in. Because when people are going through it, these practitioners, right, have their tarot moments, we need someone to lean on. Because sometimes they can't even lean on their family or their friends or their coworkers or even their job. Sometimes they lose everything and all they have is the strangers online. The people that we never met in person, those were actually my biggest supporters and still are. Everybody in my life now that knows me in person, I know for a fact they are meant to be in my life. They would not be in my life if they didn't truly support me, even if they don't understand me. That's okay. But they still say, you know what? If it makes you happy, I'm happy. I'm there for you. I want to help you. And I want you to discover yourself, even if it's something I don't understand. We can do this as well online with each other. And again, the spiritual community is very ruthless, but I have hope that by bringing these commonalities together, right? Because a lot of us go through these things, whether we want to admit it or not. There are falling outs that happen. There are no contacts that happen. There are tower moments we experience that is kind of like a canon event for all of us. And when we go through these events and we lean on people for support within our community, it can uplift us in the most beautiful ways. 2025 has been a beautiful year. I paid off so much debt. My income was even better. I found a beautiful apartment, that was true to me. Don't eat that. And I moved abroad with my 2 loving kitties. And the people in my life now, the people that come with me to Thailand, to visit me in Thailand, I know they're my true supporters. They love me for who I am. And again, when we are going through it, when we are going through these tough times, leaning on these people for support, it could be a neighbor. It could be, someone at work that maybe you haven't talked to as much, but every time you talk to them, they just uplift you. That one person can truly change the trajectory of your perspective, right? By leaning on people we need for support. And also, it's not about just support, but believing in yourself. When I was going through my tower moment, 2024, I had a lot to unpack, right? I had a lot to work on. It was like I'm looking at a giant mountain. But I believed that on the other side of this mountain, that there was victory. That whatever I did, I would come out prosperous. And I did. And what's actually hilarious to me is the very magic that I crafted that people absolutely eat up online and love, purchase from me the most. These spells I actually crafted when I was at my lowest, when I didn't have anything else. The Dollar Tree Money Bowl, I had like $20 to my name when I bought that, and some random dollars that I found that was an old tip. And it blew up online. Now people are asking me tips on money bowls, tips on how to make their money magic better. Because I went from that to being in debt, no income, to actually building a career for myself, building a name for myself, paying off all my debts, and getting into, apartment that I actually wanted. It's when we are put in such a rock in a hard place, we are forced to carve a path. And by believing in our craft, believing in ourselves, having confidence, it doesn't matter how long it takes. If it takes a month, if it takes 2 weeks, if it takes a year, I will get there. I will be prosperous. The things that I'm making now, in a year, 2 years from now, I'm going to be like, man, I was building something so much bigger than myself. I was building a foundation to uplift a community that needed to be uplifted. I was helping people that needed to hear it. Because when I was going through it, I needed to hear it. I needed to hear that my magic was life-changing. And if it wasn't for my spirit team too, right? The deities that I worked with, my ancestors, I wouldn't have had that support, right? They supported me through thick and thin. And they said, even to this day, you are a powerful magician. It doesn't matter what you're going through. If you carve a path, carve a way, having that strength, having that vigor, no matter what you've been through, what traumas, what grief, what loss you have been through, when you pick yourself up and you say, this is what I have to work with, and I'm going to continue to do it, right? A lot of people in this economy are struggling financially. Finding a job is incredibly difficult. You see people online applying for hundreds of applications just to get a few interviews. And this can erode our confidence, right? When we are in these circumstances. But I want to tell you, not all hope is lost. It's not. when you work with what you have and you craft something, you carve a way for yourself, that's when the universe rewards you. Not when you give up. There were so many days I wanted to just sleep the whole entire day. I couldn't face the reality that I was living in 2024. I was like, man, I just want to sleep the day away. I can't do this. But I did. I got up every morning and I worked on something. I created something new. I did something different. I learned something new. I crafted a new spell. I learned about a new herb. I just fiend. I fiend for change, and I created it. So don't forget how powerful of a magician you are, because you are. And when you have that shift in perspective of, I don't know if I can do this, to I know I can do this. I don't care how long it takes, it's going to happen. I said that over a year ago. When I came back from Asia, I said, I don't care how long it takes for me to pay off this debt. I'm going to make a plan to get back to Thailand. I flew in August 2024. A year later, here I am in a beautiful apartment, a beautiful place, doing what I love, creating, and being of service to people. And had I not had that conviction over a year ago, I wouldn't have been here today. Had I listened to other people, some people are like, you just need to go work a service job because you're pretty and, you'll make a lot of tips. And to me, I was like, I can find a different way to make money. And I did. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have been here now. Had I listened to them, I'd have still been somewhere. I wasn't happy. We have to listen to our own internal dialogue, what our intuition tells us, even if it doesn't make as much sense, right? You're like, but I just know I'm meant for something better. I know I'm meant to do something greater. I know it doesn't make sense. I know everybody says to go to school and get the 9 to 5. And it's like, but what if I'm not meant for that? What if things are changing? Times are changing, right? But what if there's something greater for me? And that's when I started asking that, that's when my life started changing. I started casting spells. And the results I was getting, I couldn't even believe. I was like, what? And when you keep going and you keep using that, you see your results. Use it as momentum. Keep going. Keep believing in your craft, in yourself, your authentic path. You need to hear this, and it is important. Leaning on people, it's important, but listening to yourself and believing in yourself is going to be what gets you there. It is the driving force, the engine within inside you. Your spirit team, your own spirit team, your ancestors, your deities that you work with, the people that you venerate, spirits, they are rooting for you. They want you to succeed. They want you to carve your own way and make that beautiful path, because there's not another you. You have all the knowledge and the skills acquired up until this point. No one person, there's how many people in this world? 8 billion? Not one person has the exact same experiences and knowledge and skill sets as you. So keep going. If you're doing art, keep creating. Keep going. It's going to get better, I promise. And these holiday seasons, again, can bring up a lot of tough emotions. But when we just take it day by day and we just keep getting up and we just keep doing better and keep wanting better, keep wanting change, it's going to come. And you're going to look back and you're going to say, wow, what a beautiful time. I really did that. I really did that. So I hope this helps. Blessed be. Have a wonderful holiday. I hope this brought clarity to you. And I will see you next time, okay?